March 1941. In 5 months of bitter fighting, the legions of Mussolini have failed to conquer Greece. Hitler comes to the rescue of his Axis partner with blitzkrieg. Within 1 month, the swastika flies over the Acropolis. British expeditionary troops are forced to evacuate to the island of Crete. On the 1st of May 1941, over 27,000 disorganized British, Australian, and New Zealand soldiers are evacuated to Crete, an important British base covering Greece, Turkey, Palestine, and Suez. One of these soldiers, a troop commander in the 23rd Australian Field Regiment, is Captain Gordon Laban Smith.
We land in Crete with no equipment whatever, not even a rifle amongst us. The troops generally are fit, but very, very tired. And units which have been badly split up when they came off the evacuation beaches have to be regrouped. We're completely exhausted, and the first 2 weeks we spend under the olive trees around Suda Bay, just resting and trying to build up our strength. There is a large remnant who, having no leaders, are inclined to roam around in bands. As we are unequipped, we remain in the Suda Bay area.
The men and officers who have arrived on Crete are bitterly aware of their recent defeat. The supplies of ammunition and equipment are inadequate. Air protection is practically non-existent. Crete is 160 miles long. It possesses a large deep-water harbor at Suda Bay and 3 airfields at Malimi, Ritimo, and Iraklion. Whoever controls Crete dominates the East Mediterranean. The German General Staff has maintained that mastery of the Eastern Mediterranean is dependent on the capture of Crete. Having conquered Greece, the question of Crete must now be settled. It is the method of invasion that is open to debate. The Germans are aware of the might of the British fleet, so Reichsmarshal Goering urges an invasion by air. Only Hitler hesitates. The paratroop corps represents the elite of the youth movement. Goering is persistent. Hitler issues Directive Number 28. The flower of the German Reich will form the backbone of Operation Mercury, set for May 20th. One of these paratroopers, in training with the crack 7th Airborne Division, is Sergeant Fritz Mitthäufer.
The training is very difficult. We learn to fall onto ground that is nearly as hard as concrete. We are trained in offensive action only, never how to defend ourselves. If we ask an officer about defense, he looks at us as if we were mad. When we have successfully passed these tests, we are allowed to jump. Parachute jumping is wonderful. One comes down so slowly, so peacefully. It is quite a sport.
On May 12th, British intelligence reports a German invasion of Crete is imminent. The defending force on the island, known as Creforce, is composed chiefly of Greeks, New Zealanders, and Australians. Churchill states that the island will be defended to the last man.
Our positions are well concealed. We're excited at the prospect of once more meeting up with the Germans. We're expecting an attack, but as the days wear on, rather hope it will never come. These first days are particularly wearing, as food is extremely light on, and having nothing in particular to do, we brood far too much on the fact that the only planes we see are German, and they are almost continually overhead. There is no doubt about it. The Germans are having it all their own way. About the 14th of May, things brighten up considerably when rumour goes round that there are some guns available and that our regiment is to take them over. On the next day, 4 Italian 75s arrive, towed by trucks, and I am given command of these in order to take them to a place called Georgiopolis. We are very confident that we will be able to deal with anything the enemy offers, so long as we are not bombed into the ground beforehand.
Under Operation Mercury, the Germans plan to land 15,000 men from the air, a unique development in the art of warfare. An additional 7,000 men will invade the island from the sea. The German objectives: take the airstrip at Malimi and the towns of Hanya, Ritimo, and Heraklion. On the morning of May 20th, 1941, the German airborne forces are ready.
Our officers have briefed us. We can expect light enemy resistance. We are confident that our objectives can be captured quickly.
German air strength totals over 1,200 aircraft, including 500 Yonker transports and hundreds of gliders. The 1st Airborne Army is on its way to its first test. May 20th, 1941, 7 a.m. The German invasion force appears over the island of Crete.
Are light-hearted. We tell jokes and laugh and keep up our morale this way. I do not give a thought to dying because I'm sure that I will live.
I'm at my observation post on the top of a hill. Suddenly, the whole ground seems to shake with the throbbing noise of approaching planes.
We are told, prepare to jump. Then comes the order, ready to jump. The moment has arrived, the word comes, go!
The spring sky is filled with hundreds of varied colored chutes. A British soldier remarks that they look like balloons coming down at the end of a party.
We have grandstand view. As a spectacle, the landings are magnificent. They come down endlessly. Most of the chutes are white, but some are red, others blue. The little figures hanging on the ends of the parachutes look not so much formidable as pathetic.
Paratroopers land on top of the waiting British. The invasion is off to a bad start when the gliders in which the commanding general and his staff are traveling crashes on takeoff. The command quickly passes to other hands, but not without confusion. In spite of staggering losses, the gliders and transports managed to land more than 5,000 men in the area of the Malimi airfield, the main target. Punctually at 11 a.m., more German transports appear and drop equipment and ammunition to the waiting paratroopers. The Australian troops at Malemi capture a complete German battle plan and succeed in breaking the code. Cree Force troops are able to signal the German transports into dropping ammunition and food supplies to them instead.
The Luftwaffe gives us as much support as they can, but there is much confusion. Many of our high officers have been killed, and one cannot get definite orders or information. They have had heavy casualties. The British are well covered in ditches and trenches. We try to remember all the things we were told in training. My duty is to run from battalion to regimental headquarters, to keep them in touch with each other. I must get the messages through at whatever cost. I have strict orders to stay away from any action, but this is impossible. There is fighting going on everywhere.
The results of the first day's fighting are costly for the Germans. The death knell has been sounded for the 7th Parachute Division, whose casualties are enormous. Hitler is so alarmed that he forbids the Berlin radio to mention the invasion until the outcome of the battle is absolutely certain.
Messages from Retamo and Heraklion indicate that the fighting there is going well for us. But it's apparent that conditions at Malemi have deteriorated badly. We must hold out here. If the Malemi airstrip is lost, the whole of the island can be lost too.
By nightfall, the airfields at Retamo and Heraklion remain in the hands of the British, but at Malemi, the situation is perilous. The New Zealanders at Malimi have failed to counterattack during the night, with the result that the Germans have obtained a foothold on the airfield. Now the Germans throw half a battalion of paratroopers into this position, oblivious to losses.
Our commander has told us, push on. We move about 100 or 200 yards at a time. It is ambush fighting, and I don't like it. However, Stukas fly over and give us some protection. Our morale goes up when we see the planes.
The Germans continue to bring in their men, and their bombers are almost always overhead. Without any air power, it's quite impossible for our troops to attack. We fire all day onto the aerodrome. Several men have been wounded and are sent to the rear. One gun has gone out of action due to mechanical failure, but a chap remains at his post, calmly repairing the weapon.
The Malimi airfield is now fully operational, and German strength increases rapidly. On the morning of May 21st, a portion of the British fleet is subjected to heavy air bombardment. The cruiser Juno is hit and sinks within 2 minutes. That evening, the Royal Navy intercepts a German troop convoy off the coast. The British sink a dozen German Caiques and 3 steamers loaded with invasion troops. A few hours later, another German landing force is routed. 5,000 reinforcements fail to reach Crete. On the 23rd, the British pay a heavy price for their tactical victories of the 2 preceding days. German fighters catch the entire Mediterranean fleet without fighter protection. Cost to the British, 1 battleship, 4 cruisers, and 8 destroyers, sunk or out of action, and other units severely damaged. The fleet is forced to withdraw. May 26th, continuous air bombardment has reduced the British forces to small, isolated, and immobile units. Both sides pay heavily for this island. The Germans, near exhaustion because of the heavy fighting of the last few days and running low in ammunition, make a desperate assault on Hanya, the doorway to Suda Bay. After a night of intense fighting, the Germans managed to breach the British lines. The front is broken, and further British resistance becomes futile.
The Australians and New Zealanders are tough fighters. When we approach their lines, we are worried. But we find their positions are empty most of the time. They have left, pulled back. Maybe they find out that we are ready to move in. Certainly, the end of this fighting will not be far off.
Early in the morning of May 27th, the decision is taken to evacuate Crete. The last retreat from Europe begins.
From now on, it is a matter of getting back to the beach at Sparkia in the best order that we can. The withdrawal is carried out superbly, and at no time turned into a rout. The roads do not appear to be filled with troops, and the guns always have easy travelling without traffic jams. The infantry moves back steadily, if wearily. The whole effect is curiously gentle, but this is still the gentleness of a wild beast, worn down by the hunting pack, but still quite willing and eager to rip and tear if approached too closely. The Germans are still to find that we are not yet beaten, and they are given no chance to rush us or to hurry us. We are hungry, we are tired, we are angry, and we cannot or will not understand why we are once more moving in the wrong direction. If we must move this way, we will do it in our own time. The Germans can occupy the ground behind us, but only at our pleasure.
"15,000 British are saved from the rocky beaches, but 13,000 are left behind, killed or captured."
This is the final bitterness. Ahead of us looms long years of heartbreaking prison life, but this is in the future. At present, we are too near exhaustion to even think. I'm proud to say that the men who are forced to surrender on the beach at Sfakia, my friends from Australia, New Zealand, and the United Kingdom, are still undefeated.
Within 10 days, Crete has fallen. Gordon Leyburn Smith, taken prisoner on the beaches of Sfakia, will spend 4 long years in Germany before being liberated on VE Day. Fritz Mitthäufer will leave Crete to fight in the Russian campaign. Later at El Alamein, he is captured by the British. Crete was quickly won, but at a staggering loss, in the very skies in which, according to legend, Greek gods first took flight. Both stories ended in tragedy. In 1940, to Benito Mussolini, the British position at Malta is untenable. The island outpost is over 1,000 miles from the nearest British bases at Gibraltar in the west and Alexandria in the east. Still, it is only 20 minutes by air from Italian Sicily. Whoever controls Malta is traffic cop of the Mediterranean. In 1940, that policeman wears a British uniform. On June 11th, one day after Italy enters the war, Mussolini makes his move. People take to the old historic caves and catacombs. These shelters have been enlarged so that every civilian on Malta can go underground. The Maltese have a tradition of withstanding siege. The Italians raid the island colony 8 times the first day and 30 more times in the first week. No medals are won for bombing accuracy. Operating from Malta is HMS Penelope, a light cruiser. Aboard on a gun crew is Royal Marine Douglas Alfred Adcock.
We put back into port and go on leave. Food supplies are still good, and one can still enjoy Maltese hospitality at the restaurants. The only noticeable change is the dear prices of food and the dearer prices of drinks. My first reactions to the bombings are average, I suppose. Quite a bit of rubble about, but no real damage. The Maltese people themselves, however, appear somewhat jittery. Everyone waiting for the sirens to start up and then dash off for the shelters. Or at least, so it seems to me. the Italians have been at us quite spasmodically from rather high levels. They seldom come into range, and it's a bit of a laugh. Nobody worries much over it, but they have forced us to abandon our leisurely ways.
After 6 months of bombing, the British naval and military installations remain intact. Submarines and seaplanes emerge from Malta and torpedo Axis supply vessels en route to Africa. The Mediterranean that the fascists have sometimes called our sea is still anybody's lake. January 1941, an entire German air fleet, Luftwaffe 2, is yanked from the Russian campaign and moved to Sicily. Field Marshal Albert Kesselring is given control of 2,000 first-line aircraft. Kesselring's mission: gain control of air and sea between South Italy and North Africa. In other words, blitz Malta. In command of a group of 40 Luftwaffe bombers is 27-year-old Captain Robert Kovalevsky.
The group which I command consists of 40 bombers with a crew of 4 men each. These crews are all professional soldiers. From our missions over Norway, France, and England, we have become welded together in strong unity. The cooperation and spirit among us is very high. I am very proud to lead them. The real purpose behind our aerial attacks is to prepare Malta for invasion by our paratroops. Therefore, the destruction of the 3 aerodromes and all harbor installations is essential. Once this is accomplished, our invasion will have no difficulty in succeeding. From an altitude of 3,000 meters, we commence our bombing run. The British have fortified Malta with excellent anti-aircraft batteries. Not as many as we experienced over London, but their accuracy is deadly. No matter how often we bomb the airfields, the British always seem able to keep one in operation. Their ability to repair the runways with such speed is astounding to us. The biggest holes and bomb craters are filled within 24 hours. We have to admire their perseverance, but how long can they hope to keep it up?
Our fire is controlled by the gunnery director, but in these hot situations, he often gets so busy ranging other guns that my crew goes into local control, firing at the first jerry that crosses our sights. The enemy planes come and go so quickly, we are forever switching targets. With everyone hopping about, it is impossible to determine if our crew has scored any hits. It doesn't really matter so long as the final tally is big.
By December, Malta has withstood 1,000 Axis raids. And still the tempo of the air raids mounts steadily. Malta, only 15 miles long, becomes the most heavily bombed target in the world. The equivalent of a blitz on Coventry is repeated every 18 hours for a month.
Normally, we fly just 2 attacks in one day. However, when the moon is full, we are alerted to bomb around the clock. Then we fly as many as 6 missions. This puts a great strain on everyone. Soon your head is buzzing from the engine noise. Your ears feel they will burst. Your eyes cannot stand the intense light. Your mouth is a burning desert. Your heart wants to stop beating, and your mind barely remembers the details of flying. In war, you cannot help but think of the odds of surviving. They are decidedly against you. This realization brings you face to face with your Schweinehund, the inner cowardice which everyone has in the face of danger. The possibility of a forced landing at sea is always on our minds. I recently lost one of my best crews. I watched the sea swallow them without pity.
April 17th, embattled Malta wins a decoration for bravery. King George VI awards the island the Order of the George Cross, marking the first time the medal is given to a people rather than an individual. The award ceremony is cut short by the arrival of uninvited guests.
The George Cross is quite a boost to the civilian population, though it doesn't mean much to us, the service personnel. But the people apparently think quite a lot of it, and I'm glad to see them receive it. We have so few fighter aircraft left that our guns have really become our first and only line of defense. From a point of view of aerial warfare, this is quite ridiculous. And unless we get more fighters in to remedy the situation, we can't last.
There are now only 8 British aircraft operating against some 15 Axis squadrons. Malta's need, says the air officer commanding, is Spitfires, Spitfires, and more Spitfires. There is not a single British aircraft carrier available for the dangerous but urgent mission to Malta. The Prime Minister appeals to the President of the United States. The response is immediate. The American carrier Wasp brings British Spitfires into the Mediterranean. April 29th, the desperately needed Spitfires arrive on Malta, but not for long. German radar has alerted the Axis air fleet at Sicily. Before the Spits can refuel, the Luftwaffe strikes. Every Spitfire is destroyed or disabled. On the same day, the British intelligence learns that an airborne invasion from Sicily is imminent. German and Italian paratroops on Sicily trained vigorously for the airborne invasion of Malta. Hitler and Mussolini fixed the date of the Axis assault for early June. April 30th, 1942. Malta has been under steady aerial siege for 23 months. The British no longer have aeroplanes, and pitifully little ammunition left for the anti-aircraft batteries. But the island's excellent shelters have kept human casualties incredibly low.
I went along with the civilians into a shelter, quite a good one, deep underground. I found it overflowing with people, some of them huddled together and crying. Most of them have been living in here for months. Never before this have I had such a sense of mass humanity, so utterly helpless. When the all clear sounds, I come back into the light, and I say to myself, this is the last time I ever go into one of those shelters, no matter how many Jerrys come.
May 9th, 1942. The Wasp stings a second time. The American aircraft carrier successfully delivers a second batch of Spitfires to within flying range of Malta. Are refueled and airborne in minutes as German bombers approach for a quick kill. They meet the Junkers and Messerschmitts head-on over the airfield. The Luftwaffe gets more than it bargains for. 37 German planes lost as against 3 Spitfires. Next day, the British meet with even greater success. Though still outnumbered, the Spitfires possess greater speed, firepower, and maneuverability. In bitter and continuous air fighting, they shoot down 60 German planes. The Blitz is over. British intelligence learns that Axis troops scheduled to invade Malta have been diverted to the Panzer Army in Africa. The invasion of Malta will not take place. Saved from one ordeal, the beleaguered island now undergoes another. Malta continues to be dependent on the outside world for such things as grain, meat, and gasoline. The Germans commence starvation tactics. In June, British convoys attempt to reach the island from both Gibraltar and Alexandria. 115 Allied vessels, only 2 get through. Rationing takes its toll. Morale sinks. Fuel is low. Community kitchens barely feed 100,000. The British set a target date for surrender. Beyond that date, there will be no food. A message from Malta reads, "Very worst must happen if we cannot replenish vital needs." At the end of July, the secret target date for surrender draws near. Oil is all but gone. The fate of Malta hangs on receiving supplies by mid-August. Churchill's message, hold and we win. Operation Pedestal, a convoy carrying the last hope for the relief of Malta leaves England. 14 merchant ships carrying over 120,000 tons of supplies are escorted by 4 aircraft carriers, 40 destroyers, 2 battleships, and 12 cruisers. The reinforced convoy is too big to conceal from the Germans. August 10th, the strongest fleet ever to sail to Malta enters the Mediterranean. Converging against it, a powerful German-Italian force, spearheaded by 21 submarines and 540 aircraft. August 12th. At high noon, the Axis air attack is in full force. British carrier planes and concentrated ack-ack fire again keep the attackers well away from the merchantmen. But finally, 40 Stuka bombers drive right through the barrage. By 8 o'clock, fleet and convoy reach the Narrows, where protective battleships and carriers must turn back because of restricted sea room. The merchantmen must now squeeze through the channel with only a skeleton escort. Crippled merchantmen make port at Malta. They bring food, but no petrol. The tanker Ohio, an American ship with an all-British crew, carries that petrol, Malta's sole hope for survival. With its back broken and its main deck freely washed by the sea, the slowly sinking tanker staggers into harbor with its precious cargo. Malta has survived its darkest hour. Robert Kovalevsky, after the Malta operations, participates in attacks on convoys from western France. As the war ends, he is a lieutenant colonel in command of a squadron of Arado jet bombers. He spends 2 years as a prisoner of war. Douglas Adcock is aboard HMS Penelope when the ship is sunk by a mine in the Anzio campaign. He later fights in Pacific operations against Japan. He separates from the Royal Marines 2 years after the war's end. The rocky island of Malta proved to be the most important factor for British victory in Africa, hastening defeat for the Desert Fox and making the Mediterranean a truly British sea. On the bottom of that sea lie more German and Italian soldiers than under desert sands, and more war material than the Axis used in the entire African campaign. winter of 1940, a British storm breaks over Italian North Africa. For the first time in World War II, Allied troops take the initiative, smashing against the Italian front in northern Libya. The British advance is so swift that one Australian division alone captures over half the Italian-Libyan army. The whole Italian position in Africa is near a state of collapse. Before Mussolini can send out an SOS to his fellow dictator, the German High Command has analyzed the situation. Hitler creates the German Africa Corps, an elite arm of mechanized infantry, artillery, and armor. To lead this special unit, Hitler appoints a brilliant panzer commander, Erwin Rommel. Neither he nor his troops have experience in desert warfare. As soon as panzer troops come ashore, Rommel sends formations straight to the front to probe British forward lines. The Africa Corps must learn as they go. In one of the artillery batteries is a veteran of earlier German victories in Europe, Private Karl Bolst.
There are many Italian troops here who have been fighting over a year now. We have been told they are poorly led, that it is up to us to get them out of the trouble they are in. We are confident we will be able to show them how to be victorious.
April 3rd. Driving over 500 miles, Rommel advances into Benghazi with a lightning thrust. He startles not only Rome and Berlin, but also the British. Within 10 days, the Germans have made a knifing advance across northern Libya, from the outskirts of Tripoli to the borders of Egypt. They can go no further without a supply line from the sea. Tobruk is that supply line, the only deep harbor between Benghazi and Alexandria. With the Allied troops falling back on Tobruk is an Australian infantry sergeant, Geoffrey Fernside.
It's been 6 days of touch and go, constantly strafed by aircraft, keeping one jump ahead of the German tanks ranging our flanks, in an effort to cut off our retreat back to the fixed defenses at Tobruk. We had one humorous incident before reaching Tobruk. In a dust storm, the lead truck went off on a tangent and commenced to circle around in the desert. When the mistake became apparent, one of our diggers yelled, "A fine howdy you bloody will do. Playing Ring of Rosies in the desert with Jerry on our tail." As we go through the perimeter of defenses, I feel strangely troubled. The Germans, no doubt, will surround the fortress and attack till it falls. The enemy shoots a lot of propaganda at us. Lord Haw-Haw, the British traitor, directs his broadcast smack at the Australians. The rats of Tobruk, he calls us, and that quite soon we'll be exterminated. Well, we'll have something to say about that. There's a death-like silence out on the desert. The Garden of Allah, the Arabs call it. But it's a garden Allah seldom waters. A place where forever the restless heat is like a shimmering veil before your eyes. You watch the blood-red sunset and wonder, will I ever see the sunset upon another day?
The drive toward Tobruk is over the same desert terrain we have been traveling since leaving Tripoli. But suddenly we come upon destroyed German equipment and German dead who no one has found time to bury. We snap back to life when our officers give orders to set up our guns. We were setting up when suddenly there he was, General Rommel. He spoke with our officers, then passed among us. He did not hide his pleasure at seeing our many guns, and I heard him say, "We will do it. With this heavy artillery, we will do it. It's just what we needed."
Good Friday, April 11th. Tobruk is isolated. desert rats wait silently, dug in their holes in underground bunkers, allowing German tanks to come on through the outer perimeter. German infantry follows, thinking their tanks have cleared the way. This is just what the British want.
German tanks managed to pass through the outer defenses and go looking for our gun line. They get a rude shock when our men jump up from their slit trenches and get stuck into them. Of a shell, 26 men are hit in our leading platoon, removed from the order of battle, maybe from life itself. We march past our comrades, trying not to hear the sounds that are tearing our hearts wide open.
The German blitzkrieg is checked. Axis infantry breaks up in complete disorder. Rommel decides to wait for the arrival of the 15th Panzer Division while the German Luftwaffe harasses the British at Tobruk. May 25th, there is a lull in the fighting. Both sides take a break from battle and reorganize. Despite heavy losses, the Royal Navy still manages to deliver 84 tons of supplies a day and 16,000 troops.
We have just heard that Crete has fallen to the first paratroop invasion the world has ever seen. And we begin to have some second thoughts about the impregnability of our Tobruk fortress. We begin to fear that the Germans might attempt a parachute assault on us in such numbers that coinciding with a land attack, it might prove too much for us. Water is always a problem. We ration to about 2 cups a day. Out of this, we're supposed to wash, shave, keep our underclothes clean, and make tea. We keep it mostly for tea.
June 15th, the British now have more tanks, more men, and more planes than the Germans. Wavell launches Operation Battle Axe to destroy Rommel's forces and gain a decisive victory in North Africa.
We have been retreating for 3 days now. Before starting out, General Rommel ordered us to attach heavy chains and cables behind our trucks to stir up clouds of dust as we move across the desert. In this way, the enemy will think our force is larger than it really is, and so not close in on us. So far, the trick is working, and when we reach a good defensive position, we will turn and hit back hard.
Rommel's crack Panzer Division show the results of his hard discipline. The British take a beating. 2/3 of their tanks are destroyed. Infantry casualties tremendous. The British are driven back to where they started. Operation Battle Axe is a total failure.
The enemy is not close to our lines. He has elected to stay beyond our small arms fire and act purely as a containing force. We could adopt a passive role and sweat it out, but our commander, Major General Mooreshead, insists on a policy of aggressive patrolling. From 100 positions all around the wire, reconnaissance and fighting patrols go out to harass the enemy. The Germans and Italians don't patrol to the extent we do and tend to react nervously. They booby-trap their front quite heavily, and most of our patrol casualties are due to anti-personnel mines rather than to direct enemy action.
We take special precaution against the night patrols of the Australians. They paint their faces and wear rubber shoes, and then they try to slip through our lines. They also carry bush knives, and we joke about it, but most of the men still don't like to see the night come.
Churchill removes Wavell from command and sends General Claude Auchinleck to succeed him. The Rats of Tobruk and the Western Desert Force combine to form the British 8th Army. Infantry and armored brigades of Scots, English, Australians, Poles, Indians, South Africans, and New Zealanders prepare for the biggest British offensive yet, Operation Crusader. November 17th, 1942. The British 8th Army, poised on the Libyan border, is about to launch Operation Crusader, their biggest offensive yet against Rommel's Africa Corps. A special British commando party has just raided Rommel's headquarters, but the mission is a failure. Operation Crusader begins. The big squeeze is on. At the same time, the Tobruk garrison breaks out.
Somehow it all seems preordained. Australian infantry with British supporting arms has held Tobruk for all these dreary months. Isn't it only right and just that Australians should take part in lifting the siege? Lord Haw has called us the Rats of Tobruk. Well, the rats are coming out of the trap.
General Rommel rallies his forces and counter-thrusts. German tanks go on a wild rampage right through the British lines. They smash 8th Army headquarters and keep going. The Germans attempt to force the English back and take Tobruk. Rommel's daring nearly pays off, but he's stretched too thin. Auchinleck regroups his 8th Army. His orders, attack everything you see and keep on attacking.
No matter how long it might take, the feeling in the Afrika Korps is that we will win over the enemy. As Rommel said, if we want to go to the Suez Canal, we can. It is all hard to believe, but you want to believe.
By December 7th, a third of Rommel's command is destroyed. His tank strength down to only 30. With no prospect of reinforcements till early January, Rommel pulls back. For 3 more weeks, the Desert Fox falls back behind skillful rearguard action and escapes beyond Tobruk. Operation Crusader is over.
After nearly a whole year, those of us who are left are leaving Tobruk. The siege is over, and we're headed for Palestine and rest. We look back to the desert fortress for the last time. You can see nothing to indicate men fought and died there. The roadblocks, the tank traps, the perimeter wire, the graves, all have vanished behind the shimmering heat waves.
Today, for the first time, I heard some of my comrades begin to complain. The sooner we get out of here, they said, the better for us. Let the Italians keep Africa. And if they can't, then let the British have it. But then we reminded ourselves what Rommel told us, and the complaining stopped.
Rommel hurries to complete preparations for attack before the British do. Both sides know by now that the first blow is the one most likely to win the battle. On the evening of January 21st, 1942, armed with more than 100 new German tanks, Rommel makes that move. Again and again, Rommel blends defense with offense, drawing British tanks into baited traps. Whenever the British chase German armor, they suddenly come face to face with Rommel's batteries.
Most of the time, we know little or nothing of the battle plan. Our officers tell us as little as necessary, and then only in the last moment. There's a reason for this. In this type of mobile warfare, there's great danger of being taken prisoner. And the less you know, the less the enemy will know. Our guns were not originally designed for use against tanks, but we are using them just for that, with great success.
And now history begins to repeat itself. There is the same hopeless congestion of an army retreating in the same direction to the same place, Tobruk. June 20th, Rommel makes his final attack. Stuka dive bombers blast a wide gap in the minefields. Germans charge in from all directions. In 24 hours, Tobruk surrenders. Nearly 35,000 British are taken prisoners. capture of Tobruk brings Rommel a promotion to Field Marshal and enough supplies to batter the British all the way back to El Alamein. Karl Bolst is evacuated from Libya to Greece, where he spends several months in convalescence. Later, he is promoted to corporal and fights in Italy before being captured by the Americans in 1944. Geoffrey Burnside returns again to action in North Africa, taking part in the Battle of El Alamein. Later in the war, he receives a field commission and fights the Japanese in New Guinea. Even though Tobruk proved invaluable to the Germans as a supply base, the British 8th Army still managed to stop them at El Alamein. Then, with superior numbers in arms and men, the British hounded Rommel's Africa Corps all the way back to Tunisia, where in 1943 it was crushed by the combined forces of the Americans, British, and French. The western desert of North Africa comprises 2 million square miles of empty hell. In this featureless landscape of blowing sand and drifting mirages, of 120-degree temperatures and no water, two armies have assembled. Their job? To annihilate each other. The victorious Panzer Army, standing within the borders of Egypt, consists of 4 German and 8 Italian divisions, totaling 96,000 men. One member of this proud army, a veteran of 13 months in the desert and a platoon leader in the 21st Panzer Division, is Sergeant Helmut Strelo.
Soon we will be in Cairo. We hear that the British are already evacuating. After so many months in the desert, it will be good to be in a city again.
These tough, self-reliant, and aggressive soldiers are brilliantly led by General Erwin Rommel. Rommel, known as the Desert Fox, is already a legend. His men idolize him. His enemies respect him. Even Churchill doesn't hesitate to call him a great general. The British strength is growing out of all proportion to that of the Germans. Rommel estimates that their strength will be superior to his by mid-September. Rommel must attack before the odds are against him. The British 8th Army, the opposing force in the desert, consists of 3 armored divisions and 7 infantry divisions and brigades, an army of 150,000 men. These Australians, New Zealanders, Indians, South Africans, Highlanders, Englishmen are under the command of the newly appointed General Bernard L. Montgomery. Since assuming command in August, Montgomery finds his army suffering from a Rommel complex. His men are so awed and mesmerized by this wizard of the desert that anything done well is called a Rommel. Monty sets out to shatter this legend and create his own. In the days to follow, Montgomery completely reorganizes the 8th Army and tells his men, "We stay here alive or we stay here dead." One Tommy, a veteran of the Tobruk fighting the previous fall, and now a mortarman with the 7th Armored Division, is Sergeant Lee Burns.
We wonder if this damn training and drilling will ever end. There are now plenty of materials and everything else to make the big move. We hope it comes soon. Waiting is hard to take. From now on, we are going to be doing the chasing. We are going to win, and that is all there is to it. It is an uplifting feeling to realize that we are starting in again. It's Monty for my money any day.
Allied convoys arrived from England and the United States. The ratio of ground strength is now 3-to-1 in favor of the British. The RAF already holds unchallenged command of the air. The British military leaders know Rommel must attack soon or forever lose any chance. Anticipating the attack, strong countermeasures are prepared. The British hope to draw Rommel into a calculated ambush. Rommel's main concern is his supply problem. Everything from tanks to bullets to fuel must make the dangerous Mediterranean voyage and then be trucked another 500 miles across the Libyan desert to the front. Some supplies are flown directly from Italy. The Royal Navy and the RAF make certain that the quantities are never adequate. By the end of August, the German supply situation is critical. For Rommel, it is now or never. He must take the offensive without further delay. Although suffering with a chronic liver condition, Rommel plans the attack. The element of surprise is all important. The plan is characteristic of Rommel. A fast diversionary move north along the edge of the coast, and a heavy attack 40 miles to the south. Then encirclement of the 8th Army striking from the rear. Next, smash through to the east across the desert to Cairo and the Suez Canal, the jugular vein of the British Empire. Rommel has promised sufficient supplies of fuel will arrive before the attack. You can start your battle, General. The fuel is on its way, he is told by the High Command. A little after midnight on August 30th, the attack begins. Soon the attack is slowed by encountering hidden British minefields. The surprise is lost. Rommel is now forced to attack the well-dug-in British positions. Before the day is finished, 3 of the 4 German generals leading the attack are killed on the battlefield. By the 3rd day, the RAF adds the finishing touches to the collapsing German offensive. With the attack lost, Rommel orders a withdrawal to the original positions. Rommel has lost more than a battle. He has lost the initiative. After the clash at Alem El Halfa, the British 8th Army begins to prepare for its own offensive. The attack is set for October 23rd to coincide with the planned Allied invasion of North Africa. Operation Torch, scheduled 2 weeks later. Montgomery goes to unusual lengths to confuse and deceive German intelligence as to the place and time of his attack. Mock-up tanks and phony supplies begin to appear in the south. It is an expert production of military stagecraft. A dummy pipeline is started. The Germans soberly estimate that it cannot be completed before November. In the face of the anticipated British attack, Rommel takes elaborate defensive measures. He constructs intricate barbed wire entanglements and a series of minefields called Devil's Gardens, acre after acre of carefully planted high explosives.
Our minefields contain the greatest concentration of mines ever laid, nearly 500,000 of them. These gardens, as Rommel calls them, run along the entire front, in some places as much as 5 miles deep.
With a British attack not expected before November, Rommel flies home to Germany for urgent medical treatment. The 8th Army intends to destroy Rommel's forces in their defensive positions. The method is unorthodox. Infantry will move in first, followed by the tanks. By the end of October, the preparations are complete. Montgomery tells his troops, "When I assumed command of the 8th Army, I said that the mandate was to destroy Rommel and his army, and that it would be done as soon as we were ready. We are ready now." On October 23rd, 1942, 1,000 British guns opened fire. bombardment wipes out the front-line German communications network and plows up Rommel's minefields. The infantry manages to penetrate the main German defense line along a front 6 miles wide.
We are pushing forward, trying to gain ground. We are fired upon, and 1 or 2 squatters drop.
In the heat of the first day's battle, Rommel's replacement, General Stuma, dies of a heart attack. Rommel, upon hearing of the unexpected violent British attack, leaves his sickbed and returns to Egypt. On the 25th, all British armor is in the open. An important landmark, Kidney Ridge, is taken by the British.
Rommel has come back. He has been in a hospital in Austria, but when he heard that the Afrika Korps was in trouble, he demanded a plane and flew here. Thank God for Rommel.
Rommel launches an attack to regain Kidney Ridge. The counterattack fails. Rommel observes rivers of blood are poured out over miserable strips of land. To add to the problem, the German tanker Proserpina is sunk outside Tobruk. Rommel sends an urgent message to Hitler. The battle will be lost if something is not done immediately to improve the supply situation. In a now or never gesture, Rommel assembles all his motorized units. He resolves to make one more stand, switches his German troops north to the edge of the Mediterranean, leaving the Italians to man the positions along the southern front. The battle is 1 week old. The front is strangely quiet. Monty is assembling a new striking force for the big push, called Operation Supercharge. With the Germans busy up in the north, the whole will be punched through the weaker Italian positions in the south. Montgomery informs General Alexander, his commander-in-chief, so far Rommel has had to dance to my tune. I think he is now ripe for a real hard blow.
We are ordered to charge. At this moment, we stop thinking. We fix our bayonets and keep on running.
This is the largest armored engagement of the African campaigns.
Remember, you have a rifle in your hand. You ask yourself, what are you going to do with it? You find that your training period is paid off, for your actions and reactions come almost automatically.
Rommel now has only 35 tanks left. His supplies depleted, his men exhausted, he cannot withstand another attack. Rommel gives his foot divisions a head start to save most of them and sends a message to Hitler's headquarters requesting immediate withdrawal. A message is received from Hitler. You can show your troops no other way than that which leads to victory or death. Hitler's permission or not, Rommel gives orders to withdraw. The great retreat is on.
We are burning our equipment. We are keeping only our field kitchens and our hospital cars. All that I have left is a walking stick and a rifle. We are moving back, and we know that it is all over.
The Desert Fox is on the run. The Battle of El Alamein is over. After the Battle of El Alamein, Sergeant Strelo will fight on with the Africa Corps and will be captured in Tunisia by the British in May 1943. Sergeant Burns will continue to fight in the Algerian campaign. Later, with the 7th Armored Division, he will participate in the Normandy landings. With the decisive British victory at El Alamein, Rommel's Africa Corps is mortally wounded, and the grandiose German dream of conquest in the Middle East is forever shattered. June 1942. The Western powers revive a project for the invasion of North Africa, designed to trap Rommel and provide North African bases. Operation Torch is hastily put into preparation. Lieutenant General Dwight D. Eisenhower will command the complex arrangements of air, sea, and land forces. Among the many thousands of Americans being trained for this invasion is a recent graduate of Officers Candidate School, Second Lieutenant Jack Nickerson, attached to the 3rd Infantry Division.
The training is rough. I know because I'm losing weight. In addition to all the regular infantry procedures, we're learning about amphibious landings, getting in and out of Higgins's boats, and so forth. We have dry runs in Puget Sound. At this point, we'd all trade exercises for action, wherever it is. We'd just as soon get underway.
In Germany, new recruits are being trained as much-needed replacements for the Wehrmacht. One of these men, a young draftee in a camp in Poland, is Private Arnold Steiner.
The training is quite difficult, even for men in their 20s. We lift weights of 70 kilos, which is about 150 pounds. We are training to go to Russia as engineers. We have to do all sorts of things, like laying mines, operating anti-tank guns, and building bridges. One day the captain says to us, we need volunteers to go to Africa. But we only want soldiers with blood type O, and soldiers who can stand up to a climate like North Africa. I happen to have blood type O, so I sign up.
At the end of October, ships quietly slip out to sea from various ports in the United States and Great Britain. At the rendezvous are 350 warships and 500 transports. Their destination, the North African coast. The landings are set for November 8th to coincide with the 8th Army's offensive from El Alamein. The landings will be at Casablanca, Oran, and Algiers in French North Africa.
The first day out, we're told that we're going to invade North Africa. Our ship becomes a floating schoolhouse with classes in Arabic customs and the French political situation. Our primary task is to keep up the morale of the men and see that they remain in good physical condition. This is tough since the ships are crowded. We assign the men a minimum of duty and give them all the fresh air and freedom we can. There's an announcement over the loudspeaker system. We're told of the British victory at El Alamein, an explanation that the British have secured a tremendous victory. Naturally, the news boosts our morale.
D-Day, November 8th, 1942. The Great Fleet has reached its objective. The Allies do not know what to expect from the French. It is a question that only the landings can answer.
Push off. We head for Fadala, about 15 miles north of Casablanca. The guidebook calls it a small fishing port and a popular pleasure port. We'll see about that. Landings have gone well. The resistance hasn't been much, but we have been strafed by a few antique French planes, given, I might add, to the French by the Americans. At first, walking feels odd. The land seems to roll like the ship's deck. After 22 days of shipboard living, we've become rather soft.
Algiers surrenders on the first day, but not without pain, as 2 British destroyers are sunk in its harbor. At Oran, the resistance is stiffer. The American 1st Armored Division is decimated by French Marines, and 2 destroyers are lost. At Casablanca, the situation hangs in doubt for 3 days before the city capitulates on the 11th. Several French ships and 1,000 Frenchmen are lost. By means of delicate negotiations, Admiral Jean d'Erlon, an important and influential French official, agrees to an armistice on November 13th. The French North African territories are now placed under Allied jurisdiction.
We've entered the city. The French are waving and cheering and handing out bottles of wine. I think we're still a little skeptical, but we have no reason to doubt the sincerity of the greeting. We feel that the people are with us.
In retaliation, German troops suddenly invade Vichy, France. At the same time, German troops race to secure key military bases in Tunisia, moving ahead of the Americans. The Tunisian ports of Bizerta and Tunis, as well as several nearby airfields, form a defense line. Rommel builds up his strength for a decisive counterattack. Soon troop carriers are landing 1,000 men and more a day.
As soon as we land, British and American planes bomb the area. We take cover wherever we can, in the ditches, in doorways. It is our introduction to Africa and the war we have volunteered to fight. I am with the 10th Panzer Division. We don't have enough tanks yet. It is difficult to get them across from Italy. We can get men, but heavy equipment is another question.
For North Africa has now entered a new phase. Churchill says, "It is not the end, it is not the beginning of the end. It is perhaps the end of the beginning." The German reaction to the Anglo-American invasion is instantaneous. In December, the Germans repulsed the British First Army, already in sight of Tunis. Strong American forces and some French units move up to support the British First Army. Further Allied advances are hindered by the winter rains and mud.
The troop train going to Tunisia is a mess. It consists of a dinky engine and coaches resembling old streetcars. The men have to ride in the boxcars, and they still say the same thing on the side that they did in World War I, 40 and 8. I'm transferred to the 1st Armored Division as a replacement. I'm a little apprehensive about being an infantry officer in an armored division. The captain of the 2nd Battalion looks at me with my shining gold bars and says, "What am I supposed to do with you?" I answer, "That, Captain, is your problem."
As time is on the side of the Allies in the Battle of Supplies, Rommel attacks on February 14th.
It is easy to spot things at a distance. A man, a camel, a truck, a tank. We have our 75mm anti-tank gun set up in such a way that any moving object on the road beneath us can be hit. By being patient, we are able to knock out 5 American tanks in 2 minutes. My impression of the American soldier is that they do not have enough training, enough experience, or maybe they are afraid like everybody else in a battle. They stay too close together and they don't take cover fast enough. The ideal army would be our soldiers with their equipment.
The Allies, caught by surprise, fight a series of delaying actions. Hill by hill, valley by valley, the Allies are driven back.
The division has been shipped out to new locations near Kasserine Pass this time. Our objective is to stop the German drive. There are tank battles going on all through the valley. The fighting is brutal. To my knowledge, this is the first time that the Germans have used their new Mark 6 Tiger tanks. We're still using Grants and Shermans. Needless to say, it's a very lopsided situation. The German Tiger completely outclasses us.
The green Americans at Kasserine Pass are wiped out in point-blank fighting. The Africa Corps continues the push, threatening to bisect the Allied armies. To plug the gap at Kasserine, 2 American divisions speed eastward from Oran. Thousands of trucks hauling supplies play a major role in the battle. The weather clears. 104 American aircraft are seen over Kasserine alone. By the end of February, Rommel retreats to his original position, the Mareth Line, a bristling system of fortifications built before the war by the French.
We are very short of drinking water. The American fighter planes have shut up our supply of water trucks. Sometimes we don't get supplies for 2 or 3 days.
While the Torch forces move in from the northwest, the British 8th Army attacks the Mareth Line head-on and from the southern flank.
The British artillery are hitting our positions. They are hitting right on the button. And there are many casualties.
On On the 26th of March, resistance along the Marath line is broken. The Germans retreat to the Cape Bon Peninsula. On the 7th of April, the Americans link up with the British 8th Army. The trap is closing. The last great series of assaults begin across the Tunisian hills.
Naturally, we're often afraid, but I've every reason to believe that I'll survive this campaign. I don't plan on getting bumped off. My platoon has been given orders to assault Hill 315. The hill is supposed to be unoccupied. It's anything but. The Germans are well entrenched there. I see a lieutenant leading his men down a hill and I call out, "I'm sure glad to see you and your platoon." He answers, "Platoon, hell, this is what's left of my company. We've assaulted this damn hill 3 times and lost it. This is our 4th trip." The Germans have spotted us from camouflaged positions. One shell hits off to our right. Nobody is hurt. The second shell hit 6 of my men and myself.
The fighting rages all around. We have taken cover in a cave downhill from the enemy. We are surrounded. There is nothing to do but give up. We started with 75 men and now we have only 5 left. One of the American guards says to us in German, "You have nothing to worry about. Just relax and be calm." We are given cigarettes, soap, and plenty to eat. We have nothing to worry about, just like he said.
On May 7th, Tunis and Bizerta fall to the Allies. The German collapse is now complete. The trap is shut. On May 20th, 1943, a gigantic victory parade is held in Tunis. 2 soldiers are not there. Private Arnold Steiner has been sent to the United States as a prisoner of war. In 1946, he will make the long trip back to Berlin. Lieutenant Jack Nickerson spends many weeks in North African hospitals recovering from his wounds. Subsequently, he is sent to a rehabilitation center in England, where he remains until the war's end. Thus concludes Operation Torch. The green, raw Americans are now veterans and bloody.